I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on GBN, we're talking to two terrific authors, Dr. Hassan Abdulhaqq and Aishah Saunders. They're co-authors of a powerful book. It is called Catalysts for Care, Transforming Talent, Performance, and Retention. They are visionaries in organizational behavior, talent development, and compassionate leadership. With decades of combined experience in healthcare and the IDD sector, they deliver a purpose-driven guide to tackling burnout, boosting retention, and building emotionally intelligent, mission-aligned teams. We're delighted to have these two wonderful authors join us here today. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put them on TV today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like them by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing their amazing book. The links are below this interview. Dr. Aishah, thank you both for joining me here today.
Thank you, Logan.
Thank you for
Doctor,
having us.
great to have you both on the show. Doctor, I'll begin with you. What was the inspiration behind writing the book, and why is now the right time for its message?
Thank you for that question. So, just a lot, and just to summarize, your my response is, as I've traveled throughout the U.S., well over 30 states, well over 100 different organizations, because I am a keynote speaker and I've lived in this field for some time. The credible organizations, their overwhelmed staff, a lot of regulatory compliance, turnover, doing a lot more with less. So just wanted to start at getting some best practices together, listening to some of the great ideas and the great thoughts, plus some of the practical experiences we had and put into a book, Logan. And we thought that would be something great for this population.
Absolutely, I agree. And Aisha, this book seems targeted for a specific type of reader, primarily in the healthcare system, people working in the IDD field. Talk to us a little bit about who it's written for and why it's different from other HR or leadership books on the market right now.
Thanks for asking the question, Logan. Well, the book is targeted for the IDD and healthcare audience. However, the book is for anyone who is in a leadership position, anyone who's in a professional role that can cultivate the culture of the organization. So really, it's not just for IDD or healthcare. That was the main concept, but anyone who is in a professional setting can read the position and really gain some insight, both professional and personal.
Absolutely. There are broad applications for this
Yes,
subject. Anybody in the corporate world deals with similar, if not identical, issues, including, of
exactly.
course, burnout. And Doctor, I'm going to ask you about burnout. It's a recurring theme in the book. Why is it so urgent today? And what can leaders realistically do to address it and help yield its awful impact on the organization?
So burnout affects every single industry. Burnout is in our personal as well as our professional lives. One of the things that we want to focus on is signs of burnout, not just the signs of burnout, because it begins with stress and then levels up to burnout, Logan, and then ideas and thoughts on how to mitigate, because you will never ever get rid of stress. So mitigate the amount of burnout that's happening out there with some very plausible solutions.
And Aisha, let me ask you about those solutions. What are some of the solutions that you guys tackle in the book that will help alleviate some of the burnout that we see?
We talk a lot about people's health. We talk about happiness. We talk about work-life balance. We talk about, how to encourage the work-life balance, different solutions and ideas we added into the book, as well as drafts, example charts, charting within the book, which is nice and color formatted for the audience and the reader. So it's all in the book. I think it's good for people to read it and really, especially for leaders too, to really learn those signs for their employees before the burnout happens. That's key. And use that PTO time.
Absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
And Logan, if I may just interject, one of the things, and again, and without saying too much, but something of relevance, right? Substance. Pausing, taking the time to walk away. We have a lot of or high achieving employees. We have a lot of folks who are really dedicated to their work, but you cannot do anyone any justice if you are burned out and overworked. So you must take a step away. When you see certain employees that they're walking around the building or they're relaxing, do more of that. It is not a sign of laziness. You have to disconnect even for a short amount of time, 5 or 10 minutes. Plus, the last thing I'm going to say without saying too much, Logan, is taking that 5 minute meditation period, Logan, taking a 5 minute meditation period. And we're not talking about the old fashioned, we're talking about going to a private area, even a bathroom stall, and sitting down and taking that time to decompress, to get back.
Absolutely. Stephen Covey in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People said you have to take time to sharpen the saw.
Yeah.
And you can work all day trying to cut down those trees, but if you take a moment out, sharpen that saw, you're going to be much, much more effective. And that brings us, of course, to emotional intelligence. And Aisha, I'll ask you a little bit about that, how you define it and why it's so critical for leaders in all corporate settings, including healthcare and IDD.
Yeah, emotional intelligence ties right back to what Dr. Hassan was just discussing, right? So if you have self-awareness, you know, like, okay, I'm really annoyed right now. I received this email. Let me walk away. Let me go into that bathroom stall. Let me take 5 minutes before I respond. It's all about self-regulating and understanding your audience. Think before reacting. So it all ties back into that pause. Meditation is important. It's huge, really, for our society. And if we get back into that, we'll be a more effective bunch of professionals in the workplace.
And it's interesting too, Aisha. We talk a lot about in the book. It's not a soft skills. Emotional intelligence is not a soft skills. We just talked about that the other day, and we have a good chapter on it. But it's really like almost like, and this is corny, but it's like a superpower, right? It's like a superpower. It helps you look at people, look at situations with a little bit more empathy, right? It helps you understand the best in people first, trust first. That's empathetic, that's emotional intelligent driven folks.
Absolutely, especially in today's world where a lot of the talent out there is working remotely, so they're disconnected. They're overwhelmed by emails because everybody's trying to prove they have a lot of output by firing off,
Mhm.
tons and tons of
Yep.
emails each
Yeah.
day. There's
Yep.
no human contact. I mean, there's no water cooler anymore. There's often no break room or coffee. It's just
Yeah.
you, your computer, your laptop, and Zoom looking into a
Yes.
camera all day. It can be very, very tough, and people do have to take a little time for themselves. Doctor, let me ask you about mission aligned talent, what it means, and how can organizations attract and retain it?
Great question. And mission aligned talent, Logan, is not resumes, is not piece information on paper. It's really about having behavioral based interview questions
Mhm.
based on we believe that past behavior is indicative of future behavior. It's about understanding the person that we're going to hire is more than just that resume. I want to find out, hey, what type of person are you, Logan? What happens and how do you deal with stress? How do you deal with a person who is constantly ill or constantly down? What energy do you have to bring to the table? Give me some examples, Logan, of when you had to deal with this, right? So, behavioral based interviews, looking at people more than just resumes and trying to really get in touch with the compassionate side of you.
Yeah, exactly,
Be very
exactly.
mindful of the nonverbals during your interview as well, right? Those nonverbals are critical.
Yeah,
The body
absolutely.
language, a lot of interviews now, as you said, are via virtual Zoom or Teams. So, how is that the candidate coming across? Are their arms folded? Do they seem very stiff? Or, the nonverbals are key. Are they not making eye contact?
Yeah,
Although you're in Zoom, you can see each other, right?
yeah.
So that's
It's a
very
strange new
important.
world. I miss the handshake. I miss being able to
Yeah,
bond with the person I'm talking
yeah,
to chat about, what they did that weekend and feel natural and comfortable, and
exactly.
learn about that person on a personal level that you just don't get on Zoom. But I guess people will adapt and build skills when it comes to computer mediated relationships as well. Aisha, let me ask you, what's one practical strategy from the book that you feel a CEO or frontline manager could implement right away?
Mm,
That's an excellent question. I think one of the main things what we should implement right away is state interviews. A lot of organizations are not using those state interviews. We're waiting until the employee is burned out and they're done. And people do not leave organizations, they leave supervisors, right? So I think the stay interviews is something that organizations, CEOs, COOs, CPOs can really implement immediately. That is critical.
Wonderful, wonderful, great advice. And Doctor, I'll ask you if you could share a real world case study that shows the impact of your approach in action.
So a lot of what we talked about, Logan, is we have from the IDD spectrum. So I want to go strictly to IDD field where there are a lot of residential programs, there are a lot of day have programs, and in the book you're going to see some exercises and case studies on how to deal with not just the people we support, because they're called people we support, they're called clients, they're called individuals, but how we interact with each other from teammate perspective. So these case studies about reacting and engaging with teammates, because we have to remember, and we say this in the book, we are with each other, Logan, more than we with our family and our friends. And if we can interact better together, the care for those individuals will be outstanding. If we don't get along, if I can't stand Logan and Logan can't stand me, they're going to feel it. They, meaning the individuals, feel that.
Exactly, exactly. And I think we've all worked in toxic environments where the person at the top is not a great person and really, lets that malevolence roll downhill. I think we used other words to describe it
Right.
back in the day when talking about offices, but we all know what I'm talking about. And it's not a great place to work. And like you said, people don't leave organizations, they leave their supervisors or managers and their bosses. Aisha, let me ask you, what are some of the most common mistakes leaders make when trying to build that positive workplace culture that we desire?
I think having a disconnect, they're so stuck on the bottom line or numbers. They miss that human disconnect and they miss that the key, like what is it that we need? It's the people that make your business successful, right? How do I align with the people, not the bottom line, not the number? That is important too. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but we need to connect with the people and really what's needed. Maybe have some focus groups, group of team members that are actually doing the work, plus some leaders, and incorporate those individuals together to figure out what's missing, where's the disconnect. You're going to continue to re-evolve, throughout the years, the tenure of your organization. So I think that's the main piece that's missing is that human connection and understanding.
Wonderful advice. And Doctor, we're almost out of time. I'm going to leave you with the final word. What do you hope readers take away from this book? What do you hope they retain after turning the last page?
It's so much, but for me not to be dramatic,
Mhm.
I will share with you there's been a tremendous increase across the healthcare industry and the IDD industry with increased litigation, with increased investigations, with defunding, with losing programs, with state regulatory stepping in, a federal stepping in. So I am hoping that when leaders and executives read this book, they take some of these ideas and immediately implement. What we don't use, we lose, right? And in the field where there's not a lot of money to be made, it's about care. It's about creativity. It's about understanding that there are now 5 generations in the workplace, unbeknownst, never before. So take a look at some of these best practices, not just created from theory, it is created from practice. Again, over 200 different agencies we've had the opportunity to get in front of from a keynote perspective, from a consulting perspective. And this is nothing new. This is something that is some of the best practices. So looking at immediately implementing these best practices will be very helpful.
Wonderful, wonderful goals, wonderful book. Dr. and Aisha, thank you both so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having us, Logan.
Pleasure having you guys on the show. The name of the book we've been talking about today is Catalyst for Care, Transforming Talent, Performance, and Retention. It is written by two visionaries in organizational behavior, talent development, and compassionate leadership. I appreciate your time, your insight, and your wisdom today on this matter. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time, this time until next time on the Global Book Network.